All right, you guys. This is chapter 7. Chapter 7 is calculation of solid oral doses and dosages, lecture 3. So in lecture 1 and lecture 2, lecture 1 we went over practice problems A, lecture 2 we went over practice problems B, and for this lecture we're going to start with practice problem C on page 220, starting on page 220. Again, this is a disclaimer. You guys should have already reviewed the PowerPoint that's associated with this chapter, read the chapter within your book, and you should have also read the lecture notes that is associated with this chapter. And from this point, if you've done that, then this information should come easy to you guys. It's just you guys putting all that information that you've read over and learned on your own, putting it together and solving these practice problems. All right, so the practice problems C for chapter 7, basically you kind of just started off just calculating doses. You know, a dose is how much medication you're taking in one sitting, remember? Well, what we're doing now is that we're now going to add a little bit more to that. So practice problem C says they want you to interpret the orders and calculate the number of tablets or capsules necessary for each order. They want you to show all calculations and indicate how the prescription label would read. So for number one says that Dr. Jones orders, so I'm going to put RX. All I'm doing is just writing out in detail what my order reads. But it says Dr. Jones orders naproxen 500 milligrams BID for 30 days. It tells you the available medication. What's available is what you have in stock. It tells you that the available medication is Naprosyn, which is the brand name. I'm sorry, this looks a little messy. Let me rewrite that. Naprosyn, that's Naprosyn. Naprosyn is the brand name. All right, that's the brand name. Naproxen is the generic. But what you have in stock is Naprosyn 500 milligram tabs. Well, the very first thing it asks us to do is that it wants us to interpret the order. It wants us to interpret the order. All right. Normally my handwriting is much better than this, you guys, but I want you to understand that this is an actual system that I'm using. So it's not going to be as nice as it would have been if we were actually in class. All right. And I'm in class on the whiteboard. So please just excuse, the sloppiness, but I'm pretty sure you guys can still read it. So it says for us to interpret the order. Remember, when it asks for you to interpret the order, you are to basically read the order as you see it. So I interpret the order to say naproxen 500 milligrams twice a day for 30 days. All right, that's what it means by interpret the order. You're interpreting what the order says. You're reading the order as you see it. You're not translating the directions for the patient or anything. Interpreting the order is reading the prescription itself as you see it. So the next section, they want you to calculate. It says how many tablets are needed to dispense for the entire order. So they want you to calculate the total amount of tabs for the prescription. So there's a formula that I want you guys to remember. If you have your formula sheet, I have these formulas for you in calculating doses. But in order, when they ask for you to calculate the total amount of tablets for the prescription, what you are calculating, you're calculating the quantity to be dispensed. All right. So in order to calculate that, you are going to take the daily dose and multiply it by the day supply. So what does that mean? What is daily dose? Well, your daily dose in detail, that is your dose times your frequency. Well, what is day supply? Day supply is how many days the prescription will last. So let's calculate this using the information that I've given you. So your daily dose, well, if you look at the order, remember the order says for us to take naproxen 500 milligrams twice a day for 30 days. What you have in stock is naproxen 500. So first things first, you're going to calculate the dose by using the formula method or the ratio proportion method, whichever is comfortable to you. I'm going to use the formula method. So when I calculate that dose, I'm going to do dose order. My dose order is 500 milligrams. The dose available, well, the availability of the drug is 500 milligrams. And you're going to multiply that by the amount of tablets that is associated to the 500 milligram dose of the availability of the drug, which is 1 tab. So that means they are only going to need what? 1 tablet per dose. Well, you're going to take that 1 tablet per dose and multiply it by the frequency. They're supposed to take it twice a day. So that means they're taking 2 tabs per day. That's your daily dose. This right here is your daily dose. I just calculated the daily dose where I took the dose and I multiplied it by the frequency. All right. So your daily dose is 2 tablets per day. Well, now you can calculate how many tablets you need to dispense for the entire prescription. What you're going to do is you're just going to take that quantity to be dispensed. What you're going to do is take those 2 tabs per day, and you're going to multiply that by the amount of days the prescription should last. Well, it tells us 30 days on the order. So you're going to multiply that by 30 days. Well, your days cross out, leaving you with 60 tabs. That is the answer for the quantity that should be dispensed for this order. Well, the next thing they want you guys to do is what? Is to provide the prescription label. Well, when they ask you to provide the prescription label, remember, I'm going to put RX label to make it clear. All right. When they ask for the prescription label, they want in detail the instructions for the patient on how to take the medication. So remember, you have to follow that format where you have a verb, a dose form, route of administration, frequency, and any additional information. So for this particular order, my label will read take, well, my dose is 1 tablet, take 1 tablet. Frequency is by mouth. Route of administration, is by mouth. Frequency is twice a day. The additional information is for 30 days. That is what the prescription label section of problem number 1 should read. Take 1 tablet by mouth twice a day for 30 days. I know you may be asking me, well, Miss K, why do we have to add by mouth when the order doesn't say by mouth? It doesn't matter what the order indicates. If it doesn't indicate route of administration, you have to remember to add that, because again, this label is for the patient to understand. You want to minimize the amount of questions that they're going to ask when they pick up their prescription. So one of the questions may be, well, how am I supposed to take the medication? Well, if you have on their label by mouth, that's a question they would not ask you. So you have to, I'm going to repeat myself, you have to, on the prescription label, you have to follow the format that I've given you regardless of what is on the order. So what do I mean by that? You have to provide me the verb. In this case, it's take. The verb is not given to you on the order, but you're going to give that on the prescription label for the patient. You're going to provide the dose. Again, the dose is not on the label, not as far as how many tablets. The dose is 500 milligrams. You're not going to tell the patient to take 500 milligrams. You're going to tell them how many tablets is equal to 500 milligrams. You're going to tell them the form. You have the route of administration. You have the frequency. And then again, you have the additional information, which is for 30 days. This is what a prescription label instructions will read or say for the patient to understand. All right. I can't express this any more than I have at this point. You guys have got to be able to understand when you're reading through these problems. You have to understand when it says to interpret the order, you read the order. There's no translation. You just read the order as you see it. So in this case, I read it to say naproxen 500 milligrams twice a day for 30 days. But where it says prescription label, you are to translate what you have interpreted for the patient to understand, meaning you have to translate it into a full complete sentence when it comes to the duration. So I have to say, take 1 tablet by mouth twice a day for 30 days. Again, take is not in the order. You have to provide that. That's the format you have got to follow. 500 milligrams does not tell you in detail how many tablets. So you're not going to put 500 milligrams on the prescription label. You're going to tell the patient in detail how many tablets is equal to that 500 milligrams, which we've calculated to be 1 tablet. You have to tell the route of administration. As you can see on the order, the doctor does not provide the route of administration. At this point, you guys need to understand for right now that if with these problems, if it's a tablet or a capsule and it doesn't indicate the route of administration in the order, you are to always use by mouth. Then you have to provide the frequency, in this case it's twice a day, and any additional information. When I say any additional information, sometimes that's given to you, sometimes it's not. So in this case, any additional information is for 30 days. All right, let's go ahead and let's look at number 2. Number 2 is very similar to number 1. You have the same concept as far as interpreting the order and providing the prescription label. All right. It takes forever to erase this stuff on the board here. Maybe I'll just start a new blank label. How about blank document? That would be easier. I think that would be much easier. Alrighty, yes, that was much easier. Okay, so if we look at number two, I'm still in chapter 7 on page 120, but number 2 reads, Dr. Ho orders KCl. You guys should know KCl stands for potassium chloride, 20 milliequivalents, to be given daily with furosemide. Furosemide is another medication. Furosemide moving a little too fast, for 30 days. All right. It tells you that the available medication, meaning what you have in stock, the available medication is KCl 10 milliequivalent tabs. So first things first is that you guys need to interpret the order. So how would this, what do you read the order to say? What does the order say? You read it just as it says. So that's what it means by interpreting the order. So to interpret this order, I am going to say that I read it to say KCl 20 milliequivalents to be given daily with furosemide for 30 days. All right. That's what I interpret the order to read. B says, how many tablets need to be dispensed for this prescription? So they want you to tell them what quantity will be dispensed for this medication. So remember, in order to calculate that, you're going to take the daily dose and multiply it by the day supply. Well, let's calculate the dose. In order to calculate the dose, you either use the formula method or the ratio proportion method. So I'm going to use the formula method where I take dose ordered. The dose ordered is what? 20 milliequivalents. That's the dose order. So my dose order is 20 milliequivalents. The dose available is 10 milliequivalents. So my dose available is 10 milliequivalents. And you're going to multiply that. You're going to multiply that by the quantity of tablets or capsules that's associated to the stock medication. So in this case, it's tablets. So it's basically saying that for every one tablet is 10 milliequivalents. So I'm going to say 1 tab. So milliequivalents cross out. 20 divided by 10 is what? That's 2. That means they're going to take 2 tablets per dose. Well, that's important because this is what you're going to need when typing out the instructions for the patient for the prescription label. All right. So now that you know how many tablets per dose, now you're going to multiply the 2 tabs per dose. You're going to multiply that by the frequency. Well, how often are they taking that? Well, it looks like they're only taking it once a day. So that means they need 2 tabs per day, right? Now, this, you've calculated the daily dose. What I've calculated here is the daily dose. So now I'm going to multiply that daily dose by the day supply. The day supply is how long the prescription will last, which is for 30 days. So I'm going to multiply that by 30 days. As you can see, days cross out, leaving you 30 times 2 is 60 tabs. They're going to need 60 tabs for the entire prescription per RX. They're going to need 60 tabs to be dispensed. All right. I know I'm showing you guys step by step, but basically all you're doing is you're taking 2 and multiplying it by 30. You're taking your dose of 2 tablets. That's your daily dose, and that's how much you're taking in one sitting. You're basically taking 2 tablets and multiplying it by 30. All right. So the next step is to provide what the prescription label. What will the RX label read? Remember, the RX label is for the patient's understanding, for the patient to understand how to take this medication. So the label will read, take 2 tablets, because that's the dose, by mouth, daily, with furosemide for 30 days. So I'm following that format where I provide a verb, I provide a dose, I provide the dose form, I provide the route of administration, I provide the frequency, and I also provide the additional information. If you look at both the interpret the order and what we have down for prescription label, as you can see, it's 2 totally different translations. It's not the same. For the prescription label, you will not say take 20 milliequivalents, because then the patient doesn't know how many tablets that is. They don't get the stock bottle to tell them how to calculate it. That is your responsibility as the technician, is to do the calculation for them. All they have is what their prescription bottle, where the pills have already, or the tablets have already been counted out for them. You have to tell them how many tablets they need to take out of that bottle each dose in order to be compliant with their prescription. All right. Now, moving forward, you guys need to be able to do, or should be doing, the remaining of practice problem C, numbers 3 through 10. If you get stuck on any, please just send me an email and I can go through it with you guys step by step. But you guys just have to keep in mind what we've learned thus far in chapter 6 and chapter 7 is that when you are to interpret the order, you are to read the order as it says. You read it as you see it. When you calculate the dose, you can calculate the dose using 2 methods, either a formula method where you take dose order over dose available times the quantity, or you use the ratio proportion method where you take what you have in stock equal to what the prescription is asking, and you calculate your dose that way. And then for your prescription label will not read the same as interpret the order, because the prescription label are the instructions All right, the instructions from the SID code are the instructions from the directions of the order on how the patient should take the medication. So you must provide a verb, a dose, the dose form. When I say dose form, that means tablets, capsules, milliliters. It shouldn't be milligrams. It shouldn't be grams. It should be the form of how that medication comes. You must also provide route of administration. Route of administration is not always given in the order, but you have to provide that. You also have to provide the frequency, whether that's daily, twice a day. And then if there's any additional information, sometimes it's not given. If it's not given, then there's no need for you to add anything. But remember, the prescription label is read for the patient. The patient has to read that every day on how they should take their medication. It is going to be read differently than interpreting the order. All right, you guys, this comes to the end of chapter 7. You guys should also be doing the practice, the problems, both pre-test and post-test for chapter 7. That's going to help you prepare for your exam. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email with the actual number of each practice problem that you are pre-test or post-test that you may have an issue with. Again, I'm always here for you guys when you have questions.